And welcome, everybody, to day number 3 of the 2024 Transatlantic Cup. We are here from Colonel Samuel Smith Park at Humber College in Toronto, Ontario. Opening game of the day as it's the second game for all the women's teams as we have, starting us off, Colombia and Great Britain. And again, the Transatlantic Cup is presented to you by Payable apps from Etobicoke on the campus of Humber College here. I'm Patrick McNeil, joined by Brian Barish of the USAFL for another exciting day of Australian rules football action.
Good morning, Pat. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, this is a very exciting, very intriguing matchup, and one that will have semifinal implications already here on the second round. We'll get to that in just a moment.
Yeah, we are going to present you with how the tournament has played out so far. Again, all the men's and women's teams will play 3 games. They've all played 1. And as you can see, the Colombians were victorious in their first game, their first ever game against France. Great Britain was victorious against Canada. So Colombia, Ireland, and Great Britain have posted victories thus far in the tournament. Canada, USA, and France all looking for their first wins. And I guess a little bit of intrigue here with both of these teams going to be handed their first loss. One of the 2 teams being handed their first loss heading into the game. As, again, it is Colombia in yellow and the Great Britain side in white, the Colombian Jaguars and the Great Britain Swans. I don't know if we'll have the chance to check out some key players, but we are getting ready for the opening bounce shortly.
Yeah, we are. 2 players to keep an eye on for the Swans. Lizzie Toms, who played her football in the U.S. Here it is. Lizzie Toms played in the U.S. And Gualteros for Colombia. We're about to get underway here. No worries, we're underway here. Getting knocked forward is Great Britain. They're in the white jumpers heading to the Toronto City end. Going from right to left on your screen. Colombia is in the yellow jumpers. They're heading towards the visitmississauga.ca end of the ground. Ball is in the middle now, going to be picked up. Handball over the top, looking for Iona Williams. And she's able to find a friendly face out to the near side. Bennett's got to wait for it. Couldn't get it cleanly, though. She was held briefly off the football, but Rubbin is racing. And now going to get picked up. There's Gualteros, who was the star in that first game, that victory over France. Easy mark taken by Kirsty Martin. Looks out to the far side. Ball going to bounce high in the air like a Canadian jumping bean. I didn't know you had those up here. Looking in the middle, looking in the forward 50, but a good job by Colombia to clear it out up on the far side. It's a lot of players in there, and then finally going to pick it up. Oh, a big tackle from behind. The ball squirted loose, and I believe that tackle is going to get... No, it was a push in the back is what was called. Free kick to Great Britain up on the far side. No score after a minute of football.
Yeah, and interesting, we saw in the first game, Colombia not really shying away from the physical element of the game, but it is Great Britain that earns that first free kick toward forward 54. Great Britain Swans in white jumpers, Colombia Jaguars in yellow. The Swans kicking towards the Toronto end, Colombia kicking towards the Visit Mississauga end. Handball in the middle by the Great Britain side, but it'll be turned over to Colombia. And like we saw earlier in this tournament, not necessarily a lot of time and space, but we do get a free kick to Great Britain from pretty much the center of the field. It'll be booted out towards the forward 50. Hands are up, and that's a nice clean mark. I think that was Hannah Layton converting that place for the Cardiff Panthers and was on 2 European-based sides for the Great Britain team. She'll have a kick towards goal. Looks good distance off the boot. Kick to a contest, and I thought that might squirt through for a behind, and the ball's dribbling along. I think we might have our first minor score of the game. Brian, yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. So 1-0 on the Payable app scoreboard. As Great Britain now, very quickly, we mentioned those permutations. If Great Britain wins and if France loses against the U.S. earlier today, Great Britain punches their spot into the semifinal, which kicks off on the 8th. Colombia, surprisingly, can clinch if they win today, and if either the U.S. or Great Britain U.S. or Canada lose in their games earlier. As the ball finds Hibbard, finding an option out the back, looking to send this one up high, up into the center square. Or the goal square, lining up. That was an ugly kick, but right there in front, if she can pick it up and kick it home, she can. That was a broken play, but you know what? They all look like majesties on the scoreboard. That's all that matters. And on the Payable app scoreboard, off the foot of Emma Baker, it's the Great Britain Swans, 1-1-7, Los Jaguares de Colombia, no score.
Emma Baker of the Nottingham Scorpions, who played in the 2022 AFL European Championship. And we talked about the Irish players having a Gaelic influence. Same case for Emma, and also used to play the electric organ. So multi-talented in terms of musician skills as well as footy skills. Just right place, right time, and defensive lapse, I guess we could say, for Colombia. She had all kinds of time in the goal square.
She absolutely did, and that's going to be one of the keys that we're going to look at here is how well they cope. This is a bit of a step up from France. They are going to put more of a pressure on them offensively. Still a long way to go, however.
Ball up in the middle following the Great Britain goal. Great Britain wins the tap as the Swans try to keep the pressure on. As again, Great Britain Swans in white. They were victorious over Canada in their opening game, 22-20. Not an easy task to come in and win on the road, so to speak, as Ellie Hancock, the co-captain here of Great Britain, plays for the Glasgow Sharks. Again, you have representation from all areas of the Great Britain map on this team. As contest for the ball on the ground, Susie Carr, vice captain, another one of the leaders on this Great Britain side. We'll keep it along the right boundary, and it is another free kick coming up for Great Britain. Perhaps an opportunity. Think she's going to probably try to look to kick the goal square, a little bit far out to go for goal, but certainly big opportunity for Great Britain to try to open things up here. And again, a reminder, 17.5-minute quarters in the women's games in this tournament. Kick for goal perhaps, or kick to goal square. Kick to a contest, some hands were up, and ball just stays in bounds on the right side of the field. Opportunity along the ground, trying to soccer that was Ellie Einer, who had a really good showing in the game against Canada, and we're going to get a whistle for stoppage and play.
Good opportunity here for the Swans. Kate Franklin was the one who took that free kick of the Nottingham Scorpions, originally from Cambridge. And we'll have a ball up. It'll occur about 5 meters out from the Great Britain target. Ball gets slapped forward by Los Jaguares. And there is a rolling maul situation, and the ball is, well, no, we have a holding the ball. When you're down on the ground, you are not allowed to drag the ball under you. That is considered essentially a possession, and you have to get rid of it at that point. So free kick for the yellow-clad Colombian side. Went to the feet of Garcia, and then again trying to get that back out. Another opportunity, bootlegging around there is Murdoch. Murdoch tries to get the ball up. There's a shot for goal in front. It drifts across the face. It is through for a behind off the foot of Hannah Layton. The Payable app scoreboard, it's Great Britain 1-2-8, Colombia no score. Brian Barish alongside Pat McNeil, whose voice you're going to hear now.
As Colombia tries to break out from their defensive 50, kick out towards the middle of the field. So far, it has been all Great Britain. Powerful boot, and that was blasted towards the goal square by Athena Macarini, who was great on the defensive end, and now she's getting an opportunity to show what she can do in the offensive side, and that goes through for a minor score.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how these teams manage from game to game, because there aren't really set positions. I mean, there's players that specialize in different positions, or perhaps depending on their size and their their athletic skill set, perhaps. But we will see players perhaps in one game, even in the same game, play on both sides of the ball. Great Britain trying to push again, but Colombia there to clear it out. But that ends that, as that one is marked, and here they come the other direction. Big boot inside the 50-meter arc, 2-on-2 contest. Good mark defensively. And so Colombia, they look like they're doing well in these contests, and that is one thing that, a team, we talk about their experience at this level, they seem to be coping with well. Going to get picked up. Big tackle, just got the ball away. Oh, another big hit, and my goodness, they are heavy hitters out there, are the Swans. I mean, that's how they are. There is Lizzie Toms, able to find a teammate there in Massey. Massey with a massive kick, trying to find a mark and not do it. Pops out to the near side. Going to get picked up by McInerney. And Athene McInerney, who Pat just mentioned, sneaking up now into the forward line. Little handball in, looking for Franklin. Franklin tries to turn and fire, and the ball goes out of bounds. Boundary will occur about 40 meters around. Still 9-0 Great Britain on the Payable app scoreboard.
Yeah, McInerney very involved on both ends of the field, but I like what I saw from Colombia trying to break out there. There was some good ball support, providing options, and that's going to come with experience. Of course, their debut internationally was that opening victory over France. Have a boundary throw in here deep in the Colombia defensive end. Ball kicked along the left boundary, and it looks like that's an intercept mark for Great Britain, so they'll have an opportunity to keep the pressure on. As 9-0 on the Payable app scoreboard, as Brian just referred to. Kick inside 50, and after juggling it, Katie Murdoch looked like she pulled down the mark. She plays for the Glasgow Sharks, and major trauma advanced nurse practitioner by trade. So if things go south, Katie will be here for the rescue. Now she's got an opportunity to help put her team on the board again. Lines up the kick, and it doesn't look too bad. It's going to be a kick to a contest, and the ball just goes dribbling. And thought that might go over, but it actually stays in play. And kick out of trouble there by the Colombian side. It'll come out. No clean mark there. Colombia trying to break out of trouble. And ball is captured there by Elizabeth Toms of the Great Britain Swans, and she'll back up and take the mark. Kicks it towards forward 50. Kick to a contest. No clean mark. And chasing after it is Kate Franklin. She's been pretty involved for Great Britain thus far in the tournament as well. Colombia trying to handball out of trouble, or kick out of trouble in this case. Kick up the quarter. And the Colombians trying to establish a counterattack here. Ball on the ground, bouncing around and looking after it. There was Susanna Kelleher for the Great Britain Swans. Again, Swans in white, Colombia in yellow. Not going to test the Spanish tongue that Brian had with the pronunciation of Jaguars, but those are very spiffy jumpers they have, I must say.
That took 6 years of Spanish. You have to figure something would come off. As here comes Sarah Rodriguez for Los Jaguares up on the far side. And now I'm just showing off. There is a free kick. It will go the way of the Great Britain Swans, who lead 9-0 here. First quarter of the first game here at the 2024 AFL Transatlantic Cup. And it looks like they are reversing their decision. We're just, we do have a player down. And, yep, there it is. And we're just trying to see who it is. It is a member of the Jaguars. And just getting up slowly. We're just picking up the number. I believe it is Gualteros, who is the probably the second most experienced player on the team between Yasmin Benavides. And Gualtero, we were talking about yesterday. Gualteros, she recently played for the Darabin Falcons. In fact, she and there was another player here who member of the Falcons, a friend of mine, Darcy Pingatore, who is watching back home in Melbourne. As the ball comes out to the near side, Great Britain able to get it. There's a big bootleg swing around on the sixpence as Bennett, and that one is intercepted, and Colombia will get a chance to shake the Etch-a-Sketch and draw up something new. Yeah, nice intercept mark there. Colombia's done a pretty good job. They've made the entries a little bit more difficult for Great Britain following a bit of a rough start. Kick towards the quarter now, and again, another good contest. A lot of numbers to the ball for both sides. That's booted forward. I think that might have been Hannah Layton getting her boot on that as ball comes out, and again, no time and space, but Great Britain trying to get rid of the ball. As a good contest, good physicality along the ground here. As so much congestion in the field. I think that was Emma Baker again getting that ball away for Great Britain, who's had the better of the ball. But Colombia showing a little bit of pushback here as we played more than half of this first quarter. Again, 17.5-minute quarters in these women's contests. Play along the right boundary in the forward 54, Great Britain. Ball on the ground again, and looks like we have a holding the ball call. Yeah, it was tackled just as she put her foot to the. Just as she went to put her foot to the ball, and it will be a free kick to Colombia coming out. One of the things I'd like to see them do, Pat, is switch the field. That's something that comes with game sets. You and I could be out here on the wing calling the game and not be any sort of danger. They need to, if I'm the coach, I'm telling them, lead into this area, switch the play, and go up this side, because right now it is a wasteland, and that's what they need to do to try and break this, although they are going to try and go up on the Lake Ontario /scoreboard side, only to see their attack fizzle out and a nice mark taken. And they'll have a free kick up on the far side. Briefly saw the number in the screen there, but she's going to play this one on. Thank you, Massey. Chip over the top. Mark looking for Layton, and Layton takes a nice mark. Wanted to get paid high contact, but she took the mark, and that was just gravy. Layton puts that one onto the right. Looking in deep, off the hands, going to get knocked down. And going to pop out to a Swan. This one is a high kick, tailing left. This should be an easy mark for the fullback, and she takes it with just under 6 minutes to go here in the first quarter. Great Britain still leads 9-0. Payable Apps scoreboard. Backs of Colombia doing a pretty good job. We've seen some key intercept marks there, which has helped limit the scoreboard, as it were. But the downside of that is the intercept marks, like we just saw Freya Hebert pull off, and she makes a nice, strong centering kick, and Hannah Layton's going to have an opportunity to back up, perhaps kick for goal here, or kick to a contest. She's just outside that 50-meter arc. Again, Great Britain up 9-0 on the Payable Apps scoreboard. Hannah Layton plays for the Cardiff Panthers, and she'll have an opportunity to get on the board here. Not a bad-looking kick off the boot. And again, the Colombian backs doing a good job protecting the goal. Some soccer-esque goalkeeping, I guess we can say, by the Colombians. Kicked out of the defensive 50 for Colombia, and was that a mark completed? It was indeed. And that's, of course, we'll be watching to see who gets the Payable Apps mark of the tournament. That's a boot up through the quarter. Colombia trying to work the quarter, and perhaps that's allowing Great Britain to get these opportunities. Kick towards the right side of the field. Intercept mark by Colombia. And again, they're doing a good job collecting those intercept marks deep in their defensive 50. And here's the thing, irrespective, I mean, obviously they're playing the win. They already have the victory. They want to try and make the semifinals. But this is something they can take. If they can go against a team that's a good offensive, to show a good defensive presence, I mean, this is a big thing. That was an awkward handball, however, that went backwards. And Great Britain had numbers there, but Colombia able to clear, although they are going to turn it over. Toms takes the mark. She was a former tennis player at the UT Arlington. In fact, played for the Austin Crows last season, won a Division II national championship with the Crows, who are pretty prolific on the men's side, having won 8 national championships. Their women's team just getting their affairs in order and maybe playing Division I at nationals this year. Big tackle from behind, and no call. The player who got tackled is still down. Play continues up on the far side as now they move up into the corridor just on the Great Britain side, on the Swan side of the ground. Big tackle, another sling tackle, and she is gone. And it'll be a free kick to the Jaguars, and they're going to play on quickly. Up on the far side now, little handball up over the top. Try to go and pick that one up. Ball squirted free. Little quick kick inside the 50-meter arc, but there's all white jumpers there, and Toms is able to clear that one out, but it's picked off and marked, and Columbia will get an inside 50.
Big intercept marked, and I think this will be the second inside 50 that Columbia's registered here in this first quarter. The first one just happening moments ago, but again, it's getting that kick off the mark that's been a struggle for them, as once again we get a change of possession as Great Britain gets a key intercept kick through the corridor. No hands there to complete the mark, so ball stays along the ground. That was Hannah Layton. Wasn't able to complete the mark, but she did a good job of protecting the ball, and she's able to get the kick off. Kicks it out towards Iona Williams. Great name if anybody's watching in Cape Breton, Iona, as the ball is still being battled by Williams, and again doing a good job protecting the ball. Those are those veteran instincts there, and there was no prior opportunity here, so we should see a ball up. As 2:55 left, 9-0, Great Britain on the Payable app scoreboard.
Or if you're watching in upstate New York, home of Iona College, go Gales. As the ball gets up in the air, we'll check these teams' previous scores very quickly. Great Britain, of course, beating Canada 22-20 on day one, while France fell to Colombia, beat France 37-2. Ball is up on the far side once again as they move the ball. Do the Colombians up on that far side? I don't know why they're staying on that side. We both showered yesterday. Why aren't you coming over here? As the ball is up in front of the Lake Ontario, AFL Ontario scoreboard, and we'll have a free kick for I believe that was a push in the back. So we'll have a free kick for Colombia. Right in front of the umpire's tent, right in front of that bleachers, which was filled with the Great Britain women yesterday, watching the men defeat Canada in the opening round of men's play. The men will be back in action tomorrow. Off the fingertips of Massey. Going to get shoveled forward, and it looked like a scoop was called, and we'll have a free kick to Liz Toms. Comes out to the near side, and juggling and having eyes for the ball was Williams once again. And it looks like there was some high contact in that contest. And so Williams from the West London Wildcats will get the free kick.
Yeah, and Brian, you said the play has been all opposite of the either live scoreboard or either live broadcast booth, and perhaps either team could benefit from switching. And a big mark there for Layton. She decides to play on. She'll kick into the forward 50. Ball bouncing along the ground here. And again, the backs for Columbia doing a pretty good job providing that last line of defense. Handball. Columbians trying to clear it out of trouble. Ball on the ground again. Now it's going to come back to Layton. She's got an opportunity to kick for goal, and that's going to go clear through. Thought it was going to go for behind, but again, the back's there. It'll be kicked along the left boundary. Again, we're seeing all the action opposite of our broadcast booth. The ETHER Live folks doing a good job bringing you the pictures you're seeing, as well as our commentary today and all week. Here's an opportunity for Great Britain. Good job protecting the ball. Kick through.
Marked.
Huge mark on the goal square, and that's Ellie Heiner again. Had a big game against Canada. She's got an opportunity to kick Great Britain onto the scoreboard, and she's going to boot that up. And were their hands on that ball? Kind of a muted response from Ellie Heiner. Like waiting for the signal, and that's going to be behind. I think there were some hands on that, or did that go offline?
No, I think it did in fact go offline, because the umpire, just if you've never seen the game, if it does, the umpire will tap his wrist 3 times to indicate that the ball touched. So 10-0 the score. Waning moments here in this opening 17.5-minute term, and the ball comes out to the far side as it's up now, looking in the middle of the ground. Going to get picked up. This is Williams trying to find a mark, and does. Finds Franklin. Franklin goes back. She could kick after the siren, but this will come close to the siren. It will not go close enough to the goal. Going to get picked up by the Jaguars. They'll try and clear it out. The siren should be imminent. And we have a whistle. And it will be a boundary throw-in.
Yeah, there could be some
No free kick.
Yeah, there could be some discrepancy in the scoreboard. We had seen that. We're doing our best to keep on accurate time. Great Britain looks like they'll have an opportunity to perhaps punch in a final score before we get to hear that horn. And, of course, the kick can be completed regardless of whether the horn goes or not. Kick off the right boundary going towards goal square. And that's a key defensive play for Colombia. That'll keep the Payable app scoreboard at 10-0.
Yeah, a very interesting first quarter. We expected it. It's a little cagey. One of the things Great Britain is going to need to talk about here at halftime, James Hancock, the coach, they're going to need to figure out how to break down this Colombian defense. They are playing really, really well, and a couple of those kicks are coming in short. Maybe take that extra step, maybe take an extra beat, get a little bit closer to the goal and line up. But Colombia doing a very good job of setting up. They're keeping their structure, and that's what's keeping them in this game so far, irrespective of the fact that they've only gone inside the offensive 50 twice. Still got plenty of time to sort that out, however.
Yeah, for sure. The Colombian backs, to me, definitely one of the stories of that first quarter. But as you said, Brian, it's going to be a matter of establishing possession for Colombia. They're just going to need to have more time in the forward 50, just finding their options and maybe using the entire field. As you said, it's been primarily played opposite of us. As the commentators, we'd like to see the action up close.
Oh, absolutely. But I think it especially opens up the game, and that's the most important part. I mean, as we said, 5 scoring shots, only 1 goal so far. So really, both coaches, you have to go to both of them and say, Josh Kennedy and James Hancock, they have to go to their players and say, look, you've got a farm essentially on one side. Let's use it. This is a big field. Utilize the entire field, and let's open this game up a little bit.
Now, well, it'll be interesting to see how the teams adjust, but you are currently watching. We're at quarter time, first quarter time. Great Britain up 10-0 in the Payable app scoreboard. You're watching the 2024 Transatlantic Cup from Colonel Samuel Smith Park at Humber College in Toronto. Patrick O'Neill back here with you at the 2024 Transatlantic Cup. It's day number 3 and the second day of women's competition, as our opening contest for day number 3 is the Colombian Jaguars against the Great Britain Swans. Colombia in yellow, Great Britain in white. Great Britain leading 10-0 on the Payable app scoreboard. That's 1 goal, 4 behinds for 10, and obviously no score yet for the Colombians. The teams will switch ends. In this second quarter, you will see Great Britain kicking towards the visitmississauga.ca side, as you should visit Mississauga with hundreds of must-see experiences, plenty of gorgeous scenery, world-class eats and events. Mississauga is yours to explore, and the Colombians will have the opportunity to kick towards the Toronto end. I'm Patrick O'Neill, joined by Brian Barish.
Yeah, and this is very intriguing. We'll see how the rest of this game plays out. We'll see what kind of adjustments these two teams make. We mentioned the permutations, just repeating it again. If Colombia does win this match, and either the U.S. or Canada loses in one of our next 2 games, they will advance the semifinals.
Again, both of these teams were victorious in their opening game, so obviously one will be handed their first loss as we're getting ready to resume second quarter action, as Brian Barish will call the beginning of the second quarter.
Thank you very much, Pat. We're underway here in quarter number 2, and getting an uncontested hit out there was McInerney, and plays it out to the far side of the ground. Going to get skittered across. Going after it is Echeverry. And there is a dog pile there. Throw a blanket over half a dozen players. We'll have a ball up on the opposite side, on the Lake Ontario side of the center square. Umpire tosses the ball to the heavens. Gravity takes effect again in there. McInerney in the ruck, doing a good job of at least hitting the ball out and giving her teammates a chance. Soccered off the ground, pops in the air. Going over to get it is Hancock. And Hancock up on the far side. And once again, we are playing bumblebee football. A lot of congestion, but a free kick has been picked out to the Jaguars. Going to play this one up that far wing position. Runs about 13 meters. Now sends this one high. One-on-one contest developing. Knocked down by Toms. Staying with it again. Going to get kicked off the ground and holding the ball. She dropped it. And it will be a free kick going Great Britain in the personage of Kate Franklin.
Yeah, Great Britain obviously with the lead on the scoreboard. Don't know what the wind condition looks like. It's a pretty sunny day here, so conditions should be equal for both teams. Kick along the left boundary. That is a free kick in the middle of the field for the Great Britain Swans, who are in white and the red shorts, and of course they lead this contest 10-0. And looking for a succession of marks. No completion there. Battle along the ground where we've seen a lot of the game. Once again, not a lot of space there, not a lot of time to make good decisions in terms of handballs and kicks and whatnot. We will have a ball up.
Life is full of bad decisions, and if you're going to make them anywhere, make them on the pitch. As the ball gets set to go up in the air once again, and knocked forward, picked up by the Swans, sending this one in through the hands of the defender, and another one-on-one contest. She wanted a free kick, ain't going to get one. Staying with it is a Geddes, and this one is up on the near side now. Going to get handballed back. Looking again and finding Hancock. Hancock squaring towards the goal. It'll roll, it'll bounce, it'll skip, it'll hop, it'll go through for a behind on the Payable app scoreboard. Great Britain 1-5-11. Colombia, no score.
Yeah, another minor score for Great Britain. That's been the saving grace thus far for Colombia. Partially the good work at the backs, and also partially a little bit of lady luck, perhaps, in seeing some of those balls roll to the wrong side of the center post. Colombia now trying to clear it out of the defensive 50, kick up the corridor, battle in the middle, and it's going to be won, at least temporarily, by Great Britain. Good traffic there, as that was Melissa Gonzalez-Lienda trying to get rid of the ball for Great Britain, and she didn't have any prior opportunity, it looks like, so we'll see a ball up, and we have a Colombian player down. Hopefully she's going to be okay. And again, we mentioned this in the first quarter, too. You might occasionally see a discrepancy in the time, as this is run time, but if the injury is deemed to be serious, then they may stop. It looks like this player is going to be okay.
Yeah, and they did call time off briefly. You saw the umpire hold his hand up, but it will restart once again. Ball in the center of the ground, knocked forward again by McInerney. Here is Gualteros up on the far side now. Big tackle in there, and it is a free kick, as it was a good tackle. McInerney now coming off. Be interested to see how they'll platoon the rucks now as the ball goes through the hands of Geddes once again, rushing the ball forward, and now going to get picked up in the fence. They've got 3 players back there. In comes the cavalry. Cherry Halfyard was in there, and it will be a free kick. And it will be a ball up. Beg your pardon. So ball will occur about 30 meters out. And it's half yard in once again, or 18 inches if you prefer, out to the near side, because that is a half yard. And goes and picks that one up. It's Hibbard. Hibbard goes across, going to get handballed all the way back to Gonzalez-Lienda. Now they'll play out to the near side. First time in a while that's happened. Ball bounces up high. Columbia first to it. Big swing and a miss. Here is Murdoch, who has the football. And that one is sent forward and marked. And here comes Columbia back in the other direction through Valentina Rodriguez, who is in the history books, is scoring the first ever goal in Colombian Aussie rules history.
Yeah, big kick by Rodriguez along the right side. Columbia, as we said, they only have the 2 inside 50s in the first quarter, and they're going to try to obviously expand upon that as Diana Carolina Jimenez Vargas with the ball is another battle along the ground. And I think we're going to see a ball up here, or is that a Colombian free kick?
Colombian free kick.
It is going to be a Colombian free kick, so an opportunity for them to try to march down the field. Again, it is 1-5, Great Britain 11, Colombia no score on the Payable app scoreboard. Kick to the right side of the field by Andrea Paulo Murillo Bravo as the Colombians march down the right side. Again, Colombia in yellow, kicking towards the Toronto end. Great Britain in white, kicking towards the visitmississauga.ca. Battle on the ground for the football as it's being contested hotly. Again, we're seeing a lot of congestion, a lot of packs, so that might be where the teams try to take advantage of that switch option. As a ball bouncing along towards the boundary. Great Britain try to clear it out of their defensive 50 as the ball has not spent a lot of time there. Along the left boundary there. Battle with hands as neither team able to establish any sort of clear possession here. As good pressure there by Great Britain, and I don't think there was really much in terms of priors. I think we're going to see a ball up there, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. And just if you're not familiar with it, if the ball carrier doesn't have a reasonable opportunity to get rid of the ball before they are tackled, it is just a ball up restart, and the ball is hacked forward by the Swans. Here they come inside 50 once again, trying to go for the mark there once again was Geddes, and she ended up knocking it down as the ball gets ping-ponged around like a ping-pong ball without the paddles. Funny how that works. And then we have a tug-of-war situation. The umpire crosses his arms like the Monsignor. We'll have a ball up just in between the center square and the 50-meter arc on the forward left flank for the Swans through the hands of Carr. And a great story we have about Susie Carr's name. Her family, her dad, is a big fan of Stoke City Football Club, and when she was born, they were going to give her the initials. He was going to give her the initials SCFC. Her mother intervened, dropped the F for Fiona, and her initials are just SEC, as it were. So depending on whose side you're on, a good decision or perhaps an interesting one. But in any event,
he was never going to win that argument.
No, he was never going to win that argument. Yes, I can speak the voice of experience, having been married for 15 years. As the ball is up on the far side now, and here comes Columbia trying to push something forward. Again, trailing 11-0 on the Payable app scoreboard. I think they've done very well to restrict them to 1 goal off 6 scoring shots. Going to switch the play now. They need to do that a little bit more, and they need to come over a little bit closer to this side of the field. Can't pick it up cleanly. Now on the second attempt, going back forward. Here's Leighton, gives the don't argue, runs the 55 meters out. There's nobody in the goal square. How far is this going to bounce? Not far enough, and it's going to be cleared out on the near side. Comes out, going to bounce high. Still one-on-one contest. Going and picking that one up and turning and just getting her shoelaces to it was Williams. That one's going to go through, going to get picked up, and trying to bustle her way through, taken down with a half Nelson by Franklin. And the umpire says, give it to me, a ball up. But Great Britain applying the pressure, they'll have a scoring chance here.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously a better scenario for Columbia that it is a ball up as opposed to a holding the ball call. But again, not a lot of prior opportunity there. Great Britain trying to keep the pressure up, though. Emma Baker is hungry in the forward line there for Great Britain. Again, we get another whistle. Yes, unintentional pun on the last name there.
I saw what you did there.
Yeah, totally planned, I promise. So we'll get a throw in from the end of the field. And again, it is the visitmississauga.ca end that Great Britain is kicking towards here in this second quarter. Ball up by the umpire. It'll come into the forward 54. Great Britain ball on the ground as it's soccered out by Columbia. And of course, they would have experience in that sport. Unable to capture the Copa America crown despite their best efforts this year. Kick forward 50 as it comes out, and it's another intercept mark. Seeing a lot of that from the Colombian backs.
They did better than the USA did, and that's all I'll say about that. Good thing Berhalter is on his almighty. But anyway, ball is up on the far side. We're playing Aussie rules football here, Brian, as this one is taken. Going to get picked up by Kelleher, who goes back to go forward. And now they're cycling all the way back to try and reset things. Here is Franklin, who sends this one up high on a hurried kick. Nice jumping and leaping mark taken by Hibbard. Hibbard is probably 2 kicks from goal, but she's going to run on. Runs the 40. It's a straight lace kick, and it's a laser right into the breadbasket of Kate Franklin.
Kate Franklin's done a good job. She's had a couple of key marks in this game, and one of the Great Britain women giving them a bit of a height advantage. She's got an opportunity to kick for goal here. She comes right up to the goal square, and that is a shade offline. That's a behind.
Question is whether or not they're going to rue these misses, as our good friend Bill Robert down in Massachusetts, who hosts stateside footy. If you kick too many behinds, sometimes you get your behind kick. Payable app scoreboard 1-6-12 to Columbia. No score. Brian Barish and Pat McNeil here in Toronto. The 2024 AFL Transatlantic Cup brought to you by Payable Apps. Ball going to get picked up by Toms. Going to just get her foot to it. That wasn't Toms, but we'll play it anyway. As there is Gualteros, who got taken down, or checked that was Benavides, who got taken down without holding the football. You can't tackle anybody unless they have a clean possession. So free kick to Benavides, UD Yasmin Benavides, who is the oldest player on the team at 41. An original member of the Bogota Bulldogs, also plays all different kinds of rugby, 15s and 7s, and she gets the mark on the near side of the ground. She has some time. Doesn't really have a lead. She has an option short, but the Colombian forwards, this is where you've got some space here. They need to run into it. Instead, she kicks the ball in short and expects their players to chase it, and they don't do that, and instead it's a turnover. Just getting away from one defender. Now sending this one as a one-on-one contest. Off of hands. There's Benavides once again. She's going to get charged down. Affected the kick. One hand in on McInerney. Able to give that one off to Carr. Carr sends that one in, and now, again, trying to climb over the back was Murdoch. Able to get this one free. It is like aggro twister out there. Going in for the tackle was Marino. Big hit put in there. Ball cried the crowd. In your boot, says the umpire. And there's another tackle from behind. Again, the call is for ball, but again, no prior opportunity. And we'll have a ball up with about 7.25 minutes to go here in the first half. Still 12-0 to the Swans.
Columbia doing a bit of a better job recently in keeping the play to the middle of the field. Of course, commentators curse. Great Britain gets the ball late and boots it forward. And again, the backs, Columbia doing a pretty good job there on that last line of defense. Kicked along the right boundary, and the possession will come back to Great Britain. Handball option executed, and executed well as the ball handballed the space there. Good option if you don't have a teammate. Just kick it or punch it to yourself. Ball is bouncing along the ground here. Great Britain as the Colombians try to kick it out of trouble. As the attack continues for the Great Britain Swans, boot towards a contest in the goal square. Hands are up, and nice catch of the ball. I didn't know if that was going to be a clean mark, but it was deemed a mark, and that is a key free kick here for Great Britain. That's going to be Kate Franklin again, who's been a bit of a menace there in the forward 54 Great Britain.
She's been their key forward so far, and yeah, from here it looked like it was almost touch, but it is a clean mark to Franklin, who strides forward from 35 meters out. It looks good off the boot, but it was too short and batted back down into the field of play. Fire drill situation, and Columbia able to get it free, but only as far as Leighton, who sends it back in from whence it came. And then there is Columbia with some good handballs, but we have a whistle. I think we had a player taken down behind the play, and in fact it was a high tackle. Either way it was going to get paid, and so it'll be a free kick to Columbia, and slow to get up. And we'll just see if we can get the number here for you. In fact, it was Valentina Rodriguez who kicked the first of the goals in Colombia's victory, 5-7-37 over France. 2 behinds. France is in action again against the U.S. We'll have that game for you at 2 o'clock Eastern, coming up after Ireland and Canada, which is happening next. Here is Leighton, swings around on a loony and kicks that one right through the proverbial hey diddle diddle. It's the middle. 2-finger salute from umpire Di Filan, and the second goal of the game. It's been a while. And for the Swans, they go to 2-6-18 on the Payable app scoreboard. Columbia no score. I think they really needed that to kind of settle the yips down.
Yeah, a bit more representative in terms of the gameplay that we've seen. We've talked about Great Britain not being able to sort of break through that last line of defense, and the easiest way to do that is just get a boot that has some distance and has some height on it, and that was what Hannah Leighton of the Cardiff Panthers did. She's a head CrossFit coach at a gym in Barrie, Wales, so fitness important in the game of Australian football, and Hannah Leighton bringing that as well as a good boot, and that's part of the reason that Great Britain is up 2-6-18 to nothing on the Payable app scoreboard.
She's certainly more fitter than I am. What's interesting, you mentioned at the top that these players represent the length and breadth of the country. They're from everywhere, Scotland, Wales, and England. They are individual countries in the 9-a-side competition. That's why we look at the 18-a-side, the European Championships. We have a whistle. I believe we have a center square in front. No, I think it's a 6-6-6. They have to have 6 players in each of the 3 zones to start. After that, the players can go wherever they want.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of leagues don't necessarily use that rule, so it's a bit of an adjustment. To sort of, you're going back to the old days in the World Series of a National League in America. You're getting used to different rules. Ball kicked into the forward 50 of Colombia, where they haven't spent a lot of time, and once again, they're not going to spend a lot of time. There's kick out of trouble by the Great Britain Swans. Ball bouncing around. It's still around that 50-meter arc as Colombia needs to spend more time in that part of the field. Of course, Colombia kicking the Toronto end. The Great Britain side kicking towards the visitmississauga.ca, and you should visit Mississauga, their tournament hotel and transit partner of the 2024 Transatlantic Cup. This is day 3 and the second action of the tournament for both of these teams, who are currently near the top of the Vision Glass standings by virtue of their wins on day 1. But someone will likely suffer defeat today unless we get the unlikely draw, Brian.
Yeah, and it's never happened in women's Aussie Rules football history. We came pretty close to it on day 1. With Great Britain and Canada tied in the last 2 or 3 minutes before Great Britain, the Swans, snuck ahead and ended up winning by 2. Ball's on the far side, player taken down without the ball, pushing the back, whatever you want to call it. It will be a free kick, and it will go the way of the Swans, who lead 18-0 on the Payable app scoreboard. Up on that scoreboard side, the Lake Ontario side of the ground, going to get patted backwards. Everybody going after it. Massey is in there as well, and that one is handballed around. They're working around the chain of fools, sending this one in. One-on-one contest. Player in front there was Williams, who couldn't get to the footy cleanly. Got it on the second bite of the cherry. Square kick right into the midriff for some reason. Now the kick out to the near side. Oh, good mark by McInerney. She was the tallest player in that contest and earned the free kick. She's going to try and switch to play. Want to see more of this. Nice juggling mark taken by Brooks. Emma Brooks with the football. She is 70 meters out. Comes to the near side, looking for a contest. Off the chest there. Crumbed nicely by Williams. Bootlegs around. Looks into the middle of the ground. Drops in front. Bounces away. It'll skip. It'll hop. It'll be picked up, and going back to get it is Tarache. Tarache now up on the far side, and the ball goes out of bounds. That is
so we have an intercept mark there by Great Britain. I think looking from across the field, again, they're not next to our eThere live broadcast location. That might be Hannah Layton that has an opportunity to try to boot this through. And just outside, she's actually going to creep into the 50-meter arc. And again, Great Britain up 18-0 on the Payable app scoreboard. Hannah Layton has been a key player jumping into the play a number of occasions. As she's been granted a 50-meter penalty here, it looks like she's getting the opportunity to slink down the field and get a little bit closer for an opportunity to kick the goal. Great Britain 2 goals, 6 behinds, and they're hoping to get better capitalizing on those opportunities. And certainly this is going to be a favorable angle to try to kick and add to their lead on the scoreboard. Layton tees up the kick.
Just checking it here as she will line up from 25 meters out off of one step. It is there, and they extend their lead to the Swans. They go to 3-6-24. In fact, it is off the foot of Cherry Half-Yard, and she extends the lead on the Payable app scoreboard, 24-0. Half-Yard of the North London Lions, a native of Hemel and Hempstead. She moved to France last year without knowing a word of French. Well, that makes 2 of us, and there she gives her team un but, so to speak, and extends the lead.
Yeah, indeed. Nice kick of the goal for Cherry Half-Yard, and she's playing a big part in the Great Britain side, adding to their lead here. 3 goals, 6 behinds, 24 points on the Payable app scoreboard as we're likely into the final minute. We mentioned there could be some discrepancies on the clock. There could be some added time soccer style, but nearing towards the end, and Great Britain kind of starting to assert the dominance that we saw in terms of finally starting to show up on the scoreboard as the Great Britain Swans looking to go to 2-0 and move up in the Vision Glass Toronto standings. Locations in Richmond Hill, Thornhill, Woodbridge, and Vaughan. They specialize in auto glass services. Brian Bears coming up with the center tip.
Yeah, just to clarify, there was a encroaching the mark. That's what the 50-meter penalty was called for. Now they had too many in the square. You're only allowed 5 players in that square, and there is a free kick, a mark taken. I believe that's Half-Yard once again, who has suddenly stepped up here with a couple of key marks. Going to send this one in. They got to see if they can squeeze one more goal out of this orange. The pushed and shoved there was Franklin, and that I believe is going to be kicking in danger. It's a free kick. And just to explain that rule, if the ball is on the ground and the player has their head over the ball. You're not allowed to come in and kick at the ball because that's a dangerous play. This kick is going to come after the siren. It's got to make the complete journey. If it doesn't, it will not count. So this might be on the edge of the reality here. Colombia wants to be disciplined and not give up a 50-meter kick, which would bring it closer. Here is the kick. It is half yard once again, right into the player on the mark, and that is that. Halftime at the football here at Colonel Sam Smith Park, on the campus of Humber College in Etobicoke, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The score, it's the Great Britain Swans. 3 goals, 6 behinds, 24 points. Colombia, no score. Very interesting first quarter. I've been very impressed with the Los Aguares. A little bit of a letdown towards the end of that first half. I think they'll be happy to come over and get a blow, get some water in. But Great Britain, I think, showing a little bit more of their class. They've been finding a way to kind of pick their way around the defense, and it showed with those goals at the end of the half.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect from Colombia in that first day. They kind of wowed with their athleticism and speed, and they were one of the stories of day one of this tournament, and the defense presenting very well, asking questions and causing problems for Great Britain in terms of punching through. And I think the second quarter started to reflect a little bit more in terms of what we saw the game territoriality. But it's, picking positives for Colombia, trying to take the most out of this first experience. And, certainly not an out-of-reach game at 24-0. But both teams, I think, then have things that they can take from the first half of football.
And I think irrespective of what happens, Pat, they've got their victory. They're playing with house. I mean, the fact that they made it here in the first place is a huge victory. The fact that they have a win is the cherry on top. So this is a learning experience. They've played at home. They've played against each other in the local league there in Colombia. They're playing against players in some cases who have years of experience now. Great Britain is one of those teams. Some of these women, go back to 2019. There's, I think, 1 or 2 that go all the way back to 17. We mentioned Freya Hibbard, but this is a learning experience. So the wins are a bonus. It's about learning, taking what you learned here, taking it back to the ovals in Colombia. And then whenever the next tournament is, maybe in 3 years or perhaps sooner if they end up playing some of these North American sides, it will make them better.
Absolutely, and we'd love to see more of that continental play, I guess we can say, with the teams from the Americas. But it's been nice to see Colombia as an addition to the proceedings. Again, it is 24-0 for Great Britain on the Payable app scoreboard. You are watching the 2024 Transatlantic Cup, produced by Either Live, streaming on the AFL Canada YouTube channel.
Google Forms now accepts payments. The Payable Forms add-on allows for seamless integration of a digital checkout with your Google Forms. Install the Payable Forms add-on, link your payment provider, share, and get paid. Your customers can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, Cash App, Venmo, and more. Save time and hassle by automating your payment process quickly and simply. Payable Forms gets you paid.
AFL has huge potential, not only in Colombia, but also Latin America. And Orica is really excited to be part of that story.
Los lazos humanos entre Colombia y Australia son de una importancia altísima. Para ambos países el deporte es algo muy importante en la vida. Tenemos las culturas muy similares en este sentido, con los valores de equidad de género, de participación. En la cancha todos somos iguales.
Mi vida siempre se basó en el tema del deporte, porque el deporte a mí me salvó de todo aspecto posible, que normalmente en la juventud no. El tema de alcohol, de vicios y demás, a mí llegó a mi vida fue el deporte. En el 2019 tuve un accidente de tránsito donde las oportunidades de volver a tocar una cancha eran nulas. Aún los médicos me dicen, tú cero deporte, cero correr, jugar, saltar, deportes de contacto. Siento que mi familia en esa parte forma un pilar importantísimo. Mi mamá estuvo conmigo y me cuidó como nadie lo hizo, porque era la que tenía y se aguantaba la de mamá, no quiero a nadie en este momento.
AFL Colombia has the potential to have long-lasting impacts in the communities. Entonces, Alejandro, Oscar y Estefanía, we chose these players as the future leaders because they showed throughout the selection process and throughout their time in the organisation that they are future leaders and they are really focused on developing others.
O sea, la idea es crecer aún más, estar en un nivel alto para así poder llegar y enseñarle a todos a mis compañeros.
Para mí la beca es una oportunidad enorme, una oportunidad que no se le presenta a cualquiera, una oportunidad que ya tenía mi nombre destinado en ello. Voy a vivir siempre agradecida con este deporte porque me dio una luz, porque yo vivía mi vida después del accidente, vivía mi vida, pero no era feliz. Cuando conocí el deporte y empecé a jugar de nuevo, y vida está de testigo, mi vida cambió.
That's the culmination of a lot of work for a lot of people. A heap of people have contributed to this, and it's great to see them living out their dreams, and you know, we're all very excited for them, and it's going to be great.
Great news, sports teams. Google Forms now accepts payments. The Payable Forms add-on allows for seamless integration of a digital checkout with your Google Forms. Setup is easy. Install the Payable Forms add-on. Link your payment provider, share, and get paid. Players can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, Cash App, Venmo, and more, streamlining the process for them, all while you stay organized with real-time updates. Registrations, uniforms, races, sponsorship, clinics, coaching, training, and classes. Keep it simple with Payable Forms.
2024 Transatlantic Cup. It's day number 3 of this tournament, day number 2 for the women's competition. It's the opening game of the day as Great Britain taking on Colombia. The Great Britain Swans with a 24-0 advantage. That's 3 goals, 6 behinds on the Payable app scoreboard. Colombia yet to have their breakthrough as Great Britain coming back out of the field in white jumpers and red shorts. Colombia in the yellow jumpers today, as we've seen some positive, I think, from both teams. Joined here by Brian Barish. Tell us about it, Brian.
Yeah, if you're both sides, I think obviously Great Britain a little bit happier of the two, but the Swans, they've managed to cope with the pressure pretty well. And as we said, Colombia kind of an unknown entity insofar as playing this size of a ground, playing at this level. But both teams seem to have equated themselves well. Now the question is, how do you sustain that over 2 more quarters? Fitness and keep it, and the intensity level is going to be important, not just on a game level, but through this tournament. Remember, these teams are playing 5 full-on games in 9 days. Back home in Australia, they only play, I say back home as if I'm Australia, back in Australia, they play 5 games in 5 weeks. So these teams are being asked to do a lot in much warmer conditions.
No doubt about that. It is a smoking day here in Toronto, and again, this is day 2 for the women. Both of these teams victorious, so whoever wins will vault atop the Vision Glass tournament standings for the time being. Again, Great Britain defeating Canada on opening day. Colombia defeating France. If you're unfamiliar with the format, the European teams playing the teams from the Americas. You're playing the field, as Brian referred to it as. You play mutual competition, and then the top 2 teams in each pool will move on to the final. Brian Barish with the center bounce.
Here we go. Second half underway. Ball goes high up in the air. You have a new ruck in there for now, and that is Hibbard, the player who played for the Swans in 2017. Nice mark right off the bat. Good show by Franklin, and that is textbook leading. She's going to play on and have a shot for a goal quickly, and that is a lightning quick goal. Give it to Kate Franklin, her first of the game. And after all of 20 seconds, the Swans pick up their 4th. They go to 4-6-30 on the Payable app scoreboard. I was going to call them Collingwood. My goodness. Columbia, no scorer. Not that league, the other league. But that is, that's really, that you can't ask for a better start. Bang out of the middle and a quick find. Great job by Franklin. That's what we want to see a lot, especially out of these women's teams, and it's improved as we've watched the competition, not just this one, but also at the local level. They're getting better and better at recognizing the leads, making them, and getting that open space.
Yeah, perfect execution, perfect work in the ruck, perfect kick to mark, and a perfect kick to goal. Kate Franklin becoming a big factor there in the forward line for Great Britain as they try to solve that Colombian defensive backs that we spoke so highly of here in the early part of this game. We are back in action here in the midfield as battle along the ground. It'll come out to the English player. That's going to be handled late with a heavy boot. Ball to the contest. That's going to dribble its way towards the boundary. Colombian possession along the wing. Nice bounce of the ball. Haven't seen a lot of that, but some good work there, followed by a soccer along the ground. Again, the Colombians, a lot of them would have that background. A lot of the Colombian players with some rugby background as well. That certainly some transferable skills there as they try to establish their own footy culture in Colombia. And, of course, this tournament is going to go a long way in doing that.
One of the things I noticed looking down this list is that there's a fair bit of Gaelic football, obviously, especially with certain teams, but a lot of rugby players, especially everybody out there. A few rugby players in the U.S., but and Canada and pretty much everybody else. A lot of rugby background on these sides as they try and rush the ball forward now. Here is Franklin once again, who's going to send this one in. Now here's Franklin squaring up for the ball. Off of her hand, as the ball is over there in front of a crowd that's gathered here on a Sunday morning. It's sent across the face and through for another behind. 4 goals, 7-31. No score for Colombia.
You talk about the crowd. It's been nice to see the fans watching, and they're watching opposite here of our eThere live broadcast location, and also the men and women have become cheerleaders for their national counterparts. That is a key intercept mark there by Susie Carr, the vice captain, plays for the Southeast London Giants. She has a big opportunity here as she will get an opportunity to kick into the goal square. Ball goes bouncing along the ground. That is going to be turned over to Colombia. Kick low along the ground and just high enough, just probably needing that 15-meter criteria for the mark. Haven't seen a lot of clean marks for Colombia, so that's nice to see as they try to break out of their defensive 50. Look to try to utilize the switch. Ball's in dispute along the ground. Who's going to be able to pick it up? Contest on the ground, and we're seeing a bit more of a gritty game here as the possession battle will be determined by a ball up.
Susie Carr in on the ruck now. Actually, no, it will be Hibbard. Carr was pumped after that one. Big punch forward there by by Hibbard as the ball goes down, going to get popped up in the air. Hibbard is able to claim it. Rather, that was Carr once again off the left foot, dribbled off the knees of Franklin, trying to stay with the footy. Again, now Columbia again under the pump, trying to clear this one out. Good pressure put in, and it's going to force the turnover and an intercept mark taken by Murdoch, and Murdoch should take her time. She is within a scoring shot there, scoring opportunity. She's going to send this one on the way. It's going to be short and marked on the last line of defense, and that ends that threat. So now the fullback for the Jaguars coming out to the near side, and good intercept mark taken by Iona Williams. Williams, who plays for the West London Wildcats, also plays for the South London Women's Football Club. And takes the mark right in front. Carr is going to play on quickly. Here again is Layton, who has a goal to her name already, looking for a second, sending this one in towards the sticks, through the hands, but also through the area between the big one and the little one. That's good for 1 point and only 1 point. Payable half scoreboard, Great Britain 4-8-32. They're doing it in dinks and dunks. Colombia, no score.
Yeah, good use of handball and kick options there by the Great Britain forwards as the ball goes bouncing along the boundary opposite of our broadcast location here on Either Live. You're watching AFL Canada YouTube channel. Hello to everybody watching here, regardless of what continent you're in, who you're watching with. I know a lot of the teams that these players represent, not just their nationalities, but their club teams back home, are organizing watch parties and whatnot. So we're happy to have you all aboard. If you want to join and chime in on social media, use the hashtag AFLTAC. See what other people are saying about the tournament. Boundary throw in, and the ball will come back out. And along the right wing, so to speak, for the Great Britain Swans, who are in white today. Yellow is the color for Colombia. Great Britain kicking towards Toronto, and Colombia kicking towards the visitmississauga.cn. And that's what they're doing right now. Ball up in the air, and it's in dispute along the ground again. And the ground game will see the ball come the way of the Colombians. Kick forward, hands are up, and Colombia having a hard time establishing that chain link, so to speak.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a free kick as a ring around the collar and your whole wash clean. And Mel Gonzalez-Leyenda, who plays her footy also for the Scorpions on debut. And in addition to Gaelic football, also plays netball, a sport that is very tied to Aussie rules football. Before the prevalence of women's football clubs, a lot of clubs, and they still to this day, in addition to football clubs, have netball clubs, as they will play this one into the middle through the hands of Layton as she keeps visual there, and the ball is tied up once again. We have a rugby mall situation, and we'll have a ball up. Brian Barish alongside Pat McNeil. Glad to have your company here on day 3, round 2 of the women's competition. We've got Canada and Ireland coming up next, followed by France and the USA. Big tackle put in there. Holding the ball is the call. It'll be a free kick for Los Jaguares.
Yeah, Colombia would love to march this ball up the field. We haven't seen a lot of forward 50 possession here, and I think we might have a player down. It looks like it's a Colombian, and the support staff doing a good job. We'll watch to see if the umpires make a time-off signal. Again, this tournament is being conducted time on, 17.5-minute quarters for the women, 20-minute quarters for the men. So we've seen occasionally we'll see a pause, and I think the umpire is making that sign now. And sometimes, whether it's a physical contact or just dumb luck, somebody trips over a rough patch in the field or whatnot, it's always a concern regardless of what sport you're playing. And hopefully the Colombian player is going to be okay. Can't quite see that. As Brian and I have been joking, they've been denying us all this great action. So much of it has been taking place on the other side, opposite our Either Live broadcast booth.
I was going to say it would take too long for us to pick up all this equipment and go over there, so you'll just have to take our word for it while we wait for them to attend the player. Just a recap of round 1 for you. Ireland defeating the USA on day 1, 7-14-56 to 5-2-32. Nobody scoring more than 2 goals on day 1, and that continues to be the case here. In game 2, we mentioned Great Britain with a victory 22-20 over Canada, and Heiner with 2 goals in that first game, and Kate Franklin, who has kicked one. That was her second goal of the tournament. And then that game with Colombia defeating France 37-2, a bit of a surprise considering the pedigree of both teams. As we continue play, that's Benavides with a left-footed kick up on the far side. The ball goes out of bounds in front of the bleachers, in front of the, I guess it would be the equipment shed over here for AFL Ontario. And if you're not familiar, AFL Ontario, probably watching from somewhere else, AFL Ontario, the largest local league in North America, founded in 1989, up at 8 teams right now, and a 4 or 5 team women's league, which is fantastic. And a lot of the players, actually on both the men's and women's team, the Northwind and the Northern Lights, hailing from the OAFL. So this is very familiar territory for them. This also, by the way, the only we'll say semi-permanent / permanent Aussie rules football oval in North America. There are a lot of regular grounds, but these posts are up just about year-round, and it's very strange to be not in Australia and see these posts up. As they go backwards, does Great Britain again attacking towards the right of screen here in this third quarter. We'll have a ball up, and we'll have attacking to the left. I can't tell my left from my right. It's only day 3. Go, Pat.
Yeah, it's Brian decides it's time to tag out. Ball up. Here is Great Britain. We'll move it forward again. Great Britain up 32-0 on the Payable app scoreboard. We are in the third quarter, the quote-unquote premiership quarter, as Great Britain's kicking efficiency getting a little bit better. The forwards starting to establish a presence here as we go on in this game. As, again, Great Britain, as Brian mentioned, defeated Canada in the opening game, so they would vault to the top of the Vision Glass tournament standings with a victory here, but we're going to see a Colombian free kick from just outside the defensive 50, and as Brian said, nice to have this designated oval with all the fancy markings you see in a proper Australian football field. Kick along the left wing, and it's intercepted. Boy, McInerney has been everywhere. I think she's made marks on every inch of the field thus far today. Powerful boot down the right side. Ball goes bouncing at Colombia, trying to see if they can get a hand on the ball, or actually perhaps just best to let that go out.
Yeah.
And let the umpire deal with it.
And worth mentioning, by the way, although we haven't really seen a whole lot of it on this, we are playing with the last touch out of bounds rule that they play in AFLW. And what that means is that in most situations, there are certain cases where that isn't the case, but in most situations, instead of a boundary throw-in, the team that last touched the ball before it went out of bounds gives up a free kick. But we haven't seen a whole lot of that, and that only happens within the 50-meter arcs on either side, and we'll make a point about that in just a moment. As Great Britain trying to go through there, McInerney is in there. She's getting pulled backwards, and it just looks like one big massive humanity over there. In the U.S., I like to say it's, you go out onto a soccer field, you essentially have to build a field from scratch every time you want to play, and it's almost like an Amish farm raising, especially
True Pennsylvania reference.
I was going to say, especially the day when our regular field in Philadelphia wasn't available. We had to play at a temporary one, and they literally mowed the grass that hadn't been mowed in about 2 weeks. So you had about 60 grown men going through, picking up giant things of hay and moving them off to the side and then marking the ground. It's a lot different here, obviously. This field is in great nick. The Jacob and everybody here at AFL Canada, the folks at the AFL, Simon Highfield, Husey as well, they've done I'm blanking on his first name. Everybody here doing a fantastic job of putting this tournament together and putting this field in getting it ready. They were trimming the trees on either side of the ground before play began on Friday.
Brian didn't want to thank anybody because he might forget somebody. That's the old trick there. Is the play at the opposite end of our there live at broadcast location as a boundary throw in here from the umpires. It is 32-0 for Great Britain on the Payable app scoreboard. Ball up, and it's going to be tapped to the Great Britain side. Again, Great Britain Swans, that's the women's team. The Bulldogs is the men's team. The men and women of Colombia both with the same branding. In English, we say Jaguars, and I mentioned before those jumpers they're wearing have been a big hit, I think. The jumper collectors will be salivating over an opportunity to pick up one of those. And ball up, tap back, as Great Britain again in control of this contest. They defeated Canada in day one competition, looking to go to 2-0. Ball along the ground, and don't think there's much in terms of prior opportunity there.
And what will happen, Pat, is if Great Britain wins, they will be perhaps internally cheering for the U.S. to beat France in the final game, because if they hang on to win and France loses, they will punch their spot in the semifinals. Ireland will be in the same boat. If they win and if they beat Canada and France loses today, they too will be in the semifinals.
I'm sure you, Brit, would never have a hard time rooting against the U.S. or France.
Yeah, I know. It's like that meme with the guy and the sweating, which button do I press? Meanwhile, in the middle of the ground, as they kick on again, Great Britain kicking towards the Toronto side, and there is a free kick for a dangerous play, just got up high, and the umpire says it'll be a free kick going the way of the Swans. High contact, and so she'll take the football in the wing position on the Lake Ontario side. Not a whole lot of play in front of our Either Live commentary position, but again, this is why I bring a set of binoculars with me everywhere I go, as the ball is hoiked back and now sent on forward. They're kicking towards the visitmississauga.ca side. Are Los Jaguares, as this one is kicked on. It's a worm-burning, finger-breaking punt into the fingers there of Ospina. Any relation to David Ospina, the former Colombian goalkeeper? I don't know. As the ball gets whipped around, cleared out there by Brooks. High in the air, going to get taken and marked by McInerney as she looks to convert defense into attack.
Yeah, again, she's all over the pitch, or all over the field, I should say. Gives the free kick over to Isabel Marina. And good ball movement here by Great Britain. The attack is on here for the Swans. Ball kicked into the forward 50. Swans on the attack and already ahead 32-0 in the Payable App scoreboard. And we have a hole in the ball call, and we get some post-tackle theatrics here, some pushing and shoving. The Colombians not backing down from the physical element to play.
I'm curious, as the people shouting ball over there, are those the Australians, the Colombians, or both?
They're trying to teach them the culture, I guess.
Yeah,
if you're going to learn how to play Aussie football, you have to know how to learn to play say the word ball a lot.
Yeah.
That was a great smother there as well by Ellie Heiner, who does more than kick goals, although she was pretty good at that in the game against Canada. And attack still on here for Great Britain. Ball goes along the right side. A nice intercept mark there by the Colombian backfield.
Heiner, by the way, plays soccer with her twin sister. Hasn't been converted to Aussie rules yet. Maybe watching her sister play for Team GB might convince her otherwise. And there is a free kick going the way of Great Britain. And it will go the way. She pointed... Well, the umpire pointed towards the Great Britain goal, which is opposite of what it is. Looking at, big mark, and that was a courageous mark with a player behind her. See if we can pick that up, if she might, as just getting up. It is the 19, I believe. Yep, Lizeth Calderon marked that down as a possible contender for Payable App's mark of the tournament. And we will be giving that to somebody, and Calderon is a little slow to get up. And... now she will play on, gives off the handball, sends this one down the line on the far side of the ground near Lake Ontario, picked up by McInerney, who goes for a goal, off hands there, and it will roll through for a behind off the fingertips there of Emma Baker. On the Payable App scoreboard, that takes Great Britain on the 4-9-33. Colombia no score. Brian Barish with Pat McNeil as they put the ball back into play.
Yeah, ball in the hands of Great Britain where it's been most of the game. Another attacking forward kick going through, and looks like we'll have another behind. So it now goes to 4-10-34 for Great Britain on the Payable App scoreboard. Hard to keep track because the behind's coming in with such great frequency here. It takes many hats to put together this broadcast on the E-There live presentation. Mark for the Colombians, I think that was Stephanie Gualteros, the captain, that completed that. As Colombia try to break out of their defensive 50. Kick along the left boundary. Another clean mark. And that's nice to see Colombia string together a sequence of marks as they try to move up the field. That's something that will come with experience, just patching together a good link and trying to establish some good options. But as I say that, ball is turned over into the Great Britain forward 50. Now the ball goes for a bounce along the ground. Here's an opportunity for kick for goal for Great Britain. Kick through. And you can hear the celebration of the Swans. And that is going to be goal number 5 with 10 behind. And that's Lucy Newell that has the goal for the Great Britain Swans.
5-10-40 for Team GB. No score for Colombia. And you know what? You mentioned that string of plays. That, like you said, that's just going to come with repetition. And, it's one thing to practice it out on the ground. To do it in a game situation, it's something that, we are seeing more in the women's game across the board. As women's football evolves and becomes a lot more prevalent, the skills have become, I remember watching the USAFL Nationals in 2008 when there was only about 10 teams in the entire country. There's 3 times more of that now. And the enterprise after the football, the willingness to go in and try and go after and bump somebody was good. The skills, not wholly there. It has improved, I would say, 200-fold at least in the last 15 years across the board, not just in the USA, but really across the board. Another infraction, and it is a free kick. And wasn't sure if that was a 5 in the square or the 666 violation, but Half Yard is there to take the mark. She's about 6 of her own name from the goal as she sends this one in. A contest there. Good job of pressure to keep the ball away from Heiner as she was looking for another multiple goal game, although she's going to get it right here from point blank range, but she pulls it across the body. And Great Britain at this point is in need of a compass or some other sort of directional tracking device. They're at 5-11-41. Colombia no score with a minute to go here in the third term.
Yeah, Great Britain asserting dominance and perhaps maybe not as much as it could be with the behinds. And we should know one of the Colombian players has gone off for treatment. It looks like it's Lizeth Mariel Calderon Quintero, who plays for the Bogota Bulldogs. She's all smiles over at the table, though, so hopefully she'll be returning to action as we're in the final minute here. And indeed, we're in the final minute. We've concluded the third quarter of play as we look at the Payable App scoreboard. Great Britain 5 goals, 11 behinds, 41 41, no score for Colombia. As Great Britain started to produce the expected result, we can say, Brian.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's that Canadian to Australian time conversion. Is that what that is? Here's what I have to say. If you're Great Britain, a lot of these goals have been because of the pressure. A lot of these behinds have been because of the good pressure that Colombia is putting on them. But they're getting out of jail when they go into their final game against the U.S., which is a step up in competition. They can't be afford to be missing those opportunities. So that's what needs to be tightened up. As for Colombia, they're still keeping the pressure on. They still really are. They ended up kicking, I think they only ended up kicking 2 goals in that quarter. So very good from them. Again, affecting the kicks. 2 goals, 5 in that corner. So that's a pretty good defensive success rate if you're Josh Kennedy.
Yeah, I'd like to see the breakdown on the intercept marks because the Colombian backs have done a pretty good job in limiting the high-end opportunities for Great Britain. Again, it is 41-0 for Great Britain on the Payable app scoreboard. You are watching the 2024 Transatlantic Cup from Colonel Samuel Smith Park at Humber College in Toronto.
Great news, sports teams. Google Forms now accepts payments. The Payable Forms add-on allows for seamless integration of a digital checkout with your Google Forms. Setup is easy. Install the Payable Forms add-on. Link your payment provider, share, and get paid. Players can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, Cash App, Venmo, and more, streamlining the process for them, all while you stay organized with real-time updates. Registrations, uniforms, races, sponsorship, clinics, coaching, training, and classes. Keep it simple with Payable Forms.
And we're back here at Colonel Samuel Smith Park at Humber College in Toronto, Ontario. It's day number 3 of the Transatlantic Cup. Day 2 for the women. We have the Great Britain Swans and the Columbia Jaguars in the opening contest of day 3. Payable app scoreboard shows us 5 goals, 11 behinds, 41 for Great Britain, no score for Columbia. Patrick Emile joined alongside Brian Barish.
Yeah, Pat, going to be an interesting fourth quarter. Be interesting to see how the Swans cope and if the Colombians can hit back on the counterattack in this fourth quarter. Maybe use their speed, see how fit test the fitness of this Great Britain squad. they don't show really any signs of tiring right now, but we'll see. We'll have to see how the tactics with Coach Tim Smith-Guzman and the Colombian side, what they can do to maybe break their duck in this game.
Yeah, and we talked about the positives. I feel like the Colombian defensive effort's been very good, and obviously it's learning the game, developing tactics, and maybe a bit of a height advantage too. Great Britain winning those contests due to the height, winning the rucks as well. There's no answer for a player like McInerney, but the Colombians do have another 17 and a half minutes to try to establish something again. As we take a quick look at the Vision Glass tournament standings, both of these teams with victories, and whoever wins this contest would obviously vault to the top of their pool. Colombia, Ireland, and Great Britain all posting victories on day one. And again, going over the format, the European teams are in one group, the Americas teams in another group, and the groups play the opposite group, and the top two in each group will move on to the finals. Again, both of these teams with good results in day one and day two. Bit of a different story for Colombia, but as I said, I respect the game effort the Colombians have provided here. Again, Colombia will be kicking tours the visit Mississauga.cn. You should visit Mississauga this week. Lots of attractions in the city, including the Transatlantic Cup by Patrick O'Neill. Brian Barish starting us off in this fourth quarter.
Fourth and final term getting underway. Umpire steps forward, arches the back, sends the Sharon aloft, and we are underway. And here come the Brits once again. They set around here about 2.5 centuries ago as the ball gets knocked forward by Tom. It's going to get cleared out by Colombia, doing a good job once again on defense. Little chip kick over the top. Good job by Hibbard to come through and trying to affect the spoil, and does. Again, once again, cleared out by Colombia. Going to drop in front. Going to get picked up on a hop. Swings it around there looking for Carr. Carr sends a little stabby kick in. Drops in front. Off the hands. Going to stay with it. Good Shepherd put in there. Going to spring Williams. Williams shrugs one tackle. Chips in. Has a mark. Got it. Good job by Kate Franklin, who was able to shrug her defender, get open. And she'll have a chance from about, we'll call that 30 meters out on about a 60-degree angle. The umpire will square her on the mark. Franklin steps forward. Little step, stab kick on the way. It is straight over the umpire's hat. Ba-bang. And that's the 6th goal for Great Britain. And for the second time in a row, they have scored a goal in the first minute of the term in this second half. On the Payable app scoreboard, Great Britain 6-11-47. Colombia, no score.
Kay Franklin's second of the game, and she's just become more and more of a factor in that forward line as the game goes on. We talked about those individuals that the Colombians have had no answer for, and Kay Franklin would certainly be one of those, and she'll be putting herself in Coleman medal contention or whatever the equivalent is here at the 2024 TAC. Ball up as Great Britain wins the tap. And again, we talked about the size and the ruck, the height and the ruck, certainly an advantage for the more experienced Great Britain team. Ball moved to the center, good option on the right side. Again, we haven't seen a ton of play on our either live broadcast location, but the Brits trying to bring some of the play over here as ball is in the hands of the Colombian player. I don't think there was really any prior, and you could tell she was looking for an opportunity to distribute the ball, but none really presented itself.
Good job by Williams to wrap up Benavides and affect that. Carr off the hit out. Look for, nope, it's going to get pushed in the back. She was just desperately trying to get out, but she earns the free kick instead. She's 60 meters from goal, looking for a lead. Going to change the scenery here. Going across, but not a good kick. The wind all of a sudden took that away from Kirsty Martin, and then going all the way back into their own defensive half-back position. But, bumping off a tackler there was... I'm not sure who. I saw 1, and I saw a round number and didn't see anything matching on the score sheet as that one drops in front. Going to get soccered on right into the fingers there. Again, looking to switch it. Finds Carr. Susie Carr from 55 meters out. Over everybody. Here is Franklin. Franklin wheels around from an odd angle. Kicks that one across the face. Going to stay in play. There's a player back. 2 players in there. They dive in going after the football. And the cavalry arrives. It's a team picture. And the ball is... No, it's going to be a free kick as she pulled the ball in. And once again, you can't do that. We're trying to get the number here for you. This will be at an odd angle. So the kick will come from 20 meters out at about an 80-degree angle. The kick is up on the way, and it is through for a behind. Just trying to see who kicked that there for you. I believe that was Kaylee Aylmer, number 22, and it is through for the 12th behind. So 6-12-48 on the Payable app scoreboard. Colombia, no score, 2.5 gone, final term.
Yeah, Colombia still hasn't really been able to establish much in terms of forward 50 entry. Kick along the right boundary. It's been all Great Britain in that respect as the Swans try to keep the attack going again. Great Britain Swans in white, Colombia Jaguars in yellow. Here's an opportunity for the Swans. That was Ellie Hancock, co-captain of the Great Britain side, as the ball ends up on the ground, and umpires will sort this one out. We played about 4 minutes of this fourth final quarter, is getting behind myself here, as we'll see a free kick to the Colombian women. We'll see if they can establish something, maybe march up the field, see if they can get one of those coveted forward 50s. Ball goes bouncing in the mid, and another whistle from the umpire. 13:24 to go, at least on my clock. Played about 4 minutes here. Opening game of this third day at the Transatlantic Cup. Kick to the left side of the field at contest, and almost like both players were trying to play the ball before it arrived. And as a result, Iona Williams and Laura Garcia both going down to the grass.
And the free kick paid against Williams because there was a bit of a push in there. It was very subtle, but it was enough to knock Garcia down and give her the free kick. Looking in the middle of the ground now, ball has a unusually high bounce. It's like those cricket pitches in New Jersey, and we'll have a ball up. Brian Barish alongside Pat McNeil. Great to have your company. First of 3 games. Pat will be joined by David Smith as their hometown Canada, their home country, hometown.
South Park reference there.
There you go. They'll take on Ireland in the next game. That is coming up at the top of the hour, 12 o'clock Eastern time. If you're watching us back in Australia on the Eastern Seaboard, that's a 2 a.m. start, and you guys have like 15 different time zones over there, so you can sort it out.
It'll also be 1:30 in Newfoundland and also 9 a.m. in BC.
Thank you so much. Ball goes in the ground. Now tell us what it is in Hawaii as the ball gets sent down off the foot of Garcia, and that one went about 5 meters, but here they come. That is Leighton who sends it in over the hands. How much of a bounce is this going to have? As Franklin was there to pick it up. Oh, she dropped the pill, but there to clean it up. It's through, through for a behind. There was all sorts of contact there, and the player who kicked the ball through is slow to get up. That is going to be
Baker, I think.
It is, and we'll double check, but that is their 13th behind of the game. They go to 6-13-49, a very odd score line for Great Britain. No score. That's on the Payable app scoreboard.
Yeah, certainly Great Britain's kicking efficiency, as Brian mentioned, is something they're going to have to work on going into the rest of the tournament, but they are looking to move to 2-0 here in the Vision Glass standings. Ball in towards the midfield here. Colombia on the march, trying to get one of those forward 50s they've been looking for. And play whistled as 11:27 remaining here in the fourth quarter, as again, this is the first of 3 games today. It's the women's turn, as the men will take the stage tomorrow. They're alternating throughout the round robin. This is the third of 6 days of round robin competition, and then we'll get into the prestigious playoffs. Forward 50 here for Great Britain. Handball option executed, turned over. Colombia now with it, and again, no real options there. Just such quick pressure, not a lot of opportunity to distribute the ball, as that was Carol Urith Echeverry Quintero that was taken off the ball. Then it will lead to Great Britain taking possession.
Eleanor Getty's the youngest player on this team at 21. Plays out of Edinburgh, plays for the Mighty Bloods up there in Scotland, as the ball is up, and it'll be a free kick. And they want to reset the mark here as they went on, and they got to bring it back quickly. They don't want to get paid, and now they do. They run through the mark, going to play on right-footed kick as that one goes in off the foot of Sophie Bennett. There's a square mouth scramble right in front. Franklin is wrapped up for Hanukkah. We'll have a ball up directly in front. Just about 10.5 minutes to go. Great Britain are home. It's just a matter of the margin at this point, but Colombia has had given them a very fierce fight in this game, but there's a turnover in front, a snap for a goal, and that is another sausage roll, and that is their 7th of the game. 7-13-55 for Great Britain, no score, and that is the number 18. Eleanor Geddes, as we mentioned, the baby of the team at 21. She becomes the 6th goal scorer.
Yeah, spread out offense here for Great Britain, and we had talked about at quarter time the Great Britain team wanting to improve on kicking efficiency. That was perhaps a weakness of their side thus far in this game, and that has certainly been fixed here in the early part of this fourth quarter. Again, third goal that they've been able to kick through in just a little bit short of 8 minutes of play. Ball up to restart the action here as it'll come towards the forward 50 of Great Britain. Battle on the ground again. Great Britain in white, kicking towards the Visit Mississauga.ca, and you should visit Mississauga to see all the attractions there. We've been enjoying our week staying there, and still more to come as the Transatlantic Cup continues this week. Ball on the ground. It is in possession of Great Britain. Kick way up in the air. No free kick to be had, but the Swans do keep possession. Ball kicked towards the goal square. And a nice clean. Thought it was going to be a clean mark. It was not. And in fact, Colombia defense once again comes through. That was Ellie Heiner, who's been a big factor for Great Britain, but she wasn't able to haul that ball in. As the ball comes along the right boundary, Colombians trying to get it a dodge here as the ball will come back to the Great Britain hands. McInerney's at it again. She'll go out the back option. And a little bit too high with the handball there as Great Britain finds themselves in retreat as the ball dribbling along the sidelines. Opposite of our There Live Now broadcast location. That'll be handballed there by Isabella Marino. Now it comes back along the boundary. Intercept mark for Colombia.
Yeah, Lily Miles, I don't think was expecting it to come out that fast and that high. And by the time she reacted, it was about 3 meters behind her. Free kick going the way, or the mark off the free kick. A little bit of footballing jiggery-pokery up on the far side as this one it goes, and it is marked the other way by Lizzie Toms. Toms looks inboard, looks to switch to play. Want to see more of this. There is McInerney, who has 2 Olympians on her team. Oh, she got some help there from Leighton, who has, as we said, one of the 6 goal kickers in this game for Great Britain. We'll go over them in just a minute. Rushing through again is Geddes, I believe, and knowing to pick that one up. Oh, she was taken down. Check that. That was Marino, and she was hauled down, and it is a scoop as basically an improper disposal in a sense, and it will be a free kick to Colombia as they still trail 55-0 through past the halfway point of this final quarter.
Yeah, Colombia's still looking for that first forward 50. It's been all in their defensive end of the field. Kick along the right side of the boundary. Another big intercept mark by McInerney. They don't have an answer for that height. She's been a towering presence for Great Britain in this contest, and she's going to try to exercise that switch. Actually, she's going to kick it more towards the quarter. Ball's going way up in the air. Who's going to land with possession? It is going to be Great Britain. Kick across the right side of the field. Finally, we're getting to see some action this way, Brian. It'll come out to the boot of Susanna Kelleher, and she'll kick it towards the goal square as Baker was trying to make her, Ellie Heiner rather, was trying to make her presence known, and the ball will dribble out past the behind post. That will be behind, and no points recorded there.
That's on the visit Mississauga.ca side of the ground. Do what we're doing and visit Mississauga. My first time to Mississauga, actually. Really enjoying it. They have lots of hotels. We can confirm at least one of them is very nice as the ball comes spinning back in the play. And that one is, we have a whistle in the, it is, it looks like they're calling a free kick. I think they are. Yes, they are. I didn't see. I think it was cleared out of in the ruck contest. Was the call? So it'll be a free kick to Colombia. I saw the spread of the arms as if he was trying to land over at the island's airport over there. As the ball comes out to the near side, ball goes to ground. Picked up again by Leighton. Little shovel hand pass. Now going after the football. Umpire says free kick. Oh no, ball up rather. Sorry. And we'll have a ball up about 40 meters out. McInerney in there on the ruck once again. She's been pretty dominant. Slaps it ahead of her opponent Interace. And again, another tied-up ball situation. Let's see if Pat McNeil can relieve the pressure.
Yeah, let's see if we have better luck with the ruck this time. McInerney once again taps it, this time to the opposition. Good competitiveness there by Colombia, and we're going to get a holding the ball call in a hurry there.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long for that to develop, and the ball will find its way into the hands of Great Britain's Lucy Massey. She uses the handball option, kicks over to Leighton, who will kick across, and ball on the ground. Good defensive awareness there by the Colombians. I think that was being protected along the ground, and the contest still alive here as ball just dribbling its way. Who is it going to land on the hands of? There's lots of congestion there in the defensive 54 Colombia. Tough to execute a clear kick out of trouble. Tough to speak as well, apparently. No, I'm not a morning person, as those who know me know, as the ball will dribble its way out of bounds.
And as we prepare a new tongue and set of teeth for Pat McNeil, we'll tell you that on the Payable app scoreboard, a lot of 5s up there. Great Britain, 7-13-55. Colombia, no score. I'm Brian Barish, by the way. I had to have you along. Day 3 of 10 of this tournament, as there is McInerney again holding up her opponent. And it will be a ball up as the umpire crosses himself because he's a nice guy. And we'll have a ball up in the air. McInerney again, this time doesn't get it to advantage. Here is Benavides, who now plays up the far side, but it's marked defensively. Seen that's been a theme, especially in this second half, as they go across. Good job of switching the play to find half yard. Half yard spears this one in. Franklin got stood up. Over on the far side now. Again, Geddes is there, and that one is cleared out. Going after it and trying to backtrack, and then suddenly coming out of nowhere there was somebody with a 9 on the end of the number. I think that was Baker, and ball cried the crowd. And after all of that, it will be a free kick. So they'll set her up on the mark, and it is Ellie Hancock, who is the co-captain. Hancock playing for the Glasgow Sharks. She will step forward, probably 2 kicks from goal. They'll die in the square, through the hands, and Colombia will release.
Yeah, again, more good work by the Colombian backs here as they're trying to get out of their defensive 50 where they spent probably more time than they would like, for sure. Battle along the ground now as Gutierrez was after that. Ball will come back out to Great Britain hands, and it's quickly turned over. Good pressure there by Laura Garcia, vice captain, who's had an impact in this game for Colombia. Ball bouncing along the ground. It's going to be kicked towards the right boundary. Nice intercept mark there by the Great Britain Swans player. I think it might be Susie Carr that has the ball. She is going to kick it into the forward 50. Hands are up. No one's able to complete the mark. Ball is up for grabs there on the ground as Kate Franklin, who's done a lot of great work there in the forward line, is the last to touch it, but I don't think anybody was able to clearly get that ball, and that means it belongs to the umpire.
One of the players we were talking about for the Powerwood game MVP. And we'll reveal who is selected by our panel sitting over here in about 3 minutes' time. Great Britain going to go to 2-0 on this tournament and be in the box seat over in Group B, the European group. Franklin had one, then got pulled down off the football and earned the free kick. And you're starting to see, I mean, listen, Colombia, there's some questions about whether, their experience and everything. They look really good, but there's little moments like that just to kind of have that awareness. I mean, that could happen to a lot of different players, but, just arriving a bit about a half second late as Franklin is getting set to take the free kick here. She is let's see here, probably standing at about 50 meters out. She's going to play on quickly. Oh, right into the player on the mark, going out to the near side. Going to get picked up again by Hancock. Out the back to Bennett. Bennett goes to the far side, but turns it over quickly. And now they'll play on. Ball will bounce up, will come up high in the air. Tom settling under it. Got a hand to a crash boom opera. Palacio was in there. Ball is booted out of there quickly. Again, looking for Franklin. And now everybody gets down. Everybody goes down. A couple of players down mushroom farming. And there is Franklin, who pounds it out cleverly, looks for the pass out the back. Running in is Marino, and Colombia stifled that. That was a heads-up play by Kate Franklin, who she looked as if, like I do, first thing in the morning, reaching for my glasses behind me, and was able to punch it out and earn the ball up.
Umpire just letting them decide that along the ground. Colombia will win off the throw, and the ball will come out. And it almost looked like Sophie Bennett was tempted to head that ball, and so decides to catch it. I don't know if the soccer background would come in handy there, and Colombia will take possession back. It comes onto the hands of Luisa Fernando Palacio Garcia, and the ball now comes back in to the hands of the Colombians just outside that 50-meter arc towards the end they are defending, as that'll be kicked out into towards the quarter. Hands up for Great Britain. No mark completed, though. Ball on the ground now as we have another contest on the ground, and looks like we'll get another ball up.
I don't know if she has a soccer background. She does have a Ironman background. There's no heading the ball in Ironman, that's for sure. As the ball gets slapped forward once again, less than a minute to play here, thereabouts. As we said, that score clock is unofficial, so take that with a grain of salt if it's not secret. Yeah, it's basically, it's an outline. Time is an abstract concept.
That's right.
In general. The ball gets slapped up in the air, and it was an infringement in the ruck as Tarache undercut Freya Hebard and will go out to the far side. And she got taken down off the ball, no call. Going back to get it is Mahecha, and that one goes back. Now picking that one up again is Hibbard. Little chip kick on the left side, trying to find a target on the left wing. The little chip again once and then picked up, and here comes Susie Carr as that one goes through, and that one will get picked up. And here is Franklin, but that was Heiner, but it doesn't matter. The siren beats her, but it is Great Britain who beats Colombia in this match to go to 2-0, and they are in prime position to make the semifinals. The final score at full time on the Payable app scoreboard, the Great Britain Swans 7-13-55, Colombia no score. The game the scoreline, however, I think belies a fantastic effort by the Colombians. Without that defense, this easily could have been a 90-point or 100-point game. So when you look at the scoreboard, say, you lost by 55 points. But 7 goals from 20 scoring shots. A lot of pressure played throughout the game. That is something that can take into, they're going into a last game against arguably the best team of the 3 that they're going to play in Ireland. So that's a team that may not, if you put enough pressure on them, you never know what's going to happen. So heads up to them. I mean, Great Britain played well, especially once they figured out how to cope with the pressure and stomped home winners.
Yeah, Colombia's international debut. So this tournament on both the men's and women's side is almost about developing that national identity. Right now we're seeing some speedy players, a lot of feistiness, a lot of competitiveness, and it's just about getting that decision-making and skills on the offensive side of the ball. But credit to Great Britain. They were challenged by that Colombia defense, and they figured it out as the game went along. They'll have to work on kicking efficiency, but certainly they're happy with the result. And, of course, a lot of goal kickers for Great Britain and a lot of great play throughout the field, so no shortage of candidates for your Powerwood game MVP. Who do you think, Brian?
I think we're going to give it to Athene McInerney, who was the ruck in the contest, but not only that, played all over the place. She started out in the ruck, but then platooned more with the ruck contest and the half-forward line. She was very dominant in them. Most of them were one out to advantage, so she will be our Powerwood game MVP. And just to go through, you mentioned the goal kickers. Let's give them to you right now. Kate Franklin was the only multiple goals kicker with 2. Emma Baker, Cherry Halfyard, Eleanor Geddes, Lucy Newell, and Hannah Layton, all singletons for the Swans.
Yeah, well spread out offense for Great Britain Swans. That's what they were looking for as they move to 2-0 atop the Vision Glass tournament standings. They have locations at Richmond Hill, Thornhill, Woodbridge, and Vaughan. And also, I wanted to thank the Australian High Commission to Canada today for sponsoring all the balls used throughout the tournament. They are responsible for advancing Australia's interests in Canada. This is Patrick McNeil, but joined by Brian Barish. This wraps up the first of 3 contests at the 2024 Transatlantic Cup in day number 3. Stay tuned to the AFL Canada YouTube channel, Canada Ireland, coming up at 12 o'clock Eastern.